Right, so the Stop the Boats bill has been spelt out in all its harrowing fascisticness by a desperate Tory party flagging in the polls and resorting to dog whistle racism to try and reverse their fortunes. But where you would hope it would be the obvious notion to oppose their plans on banning asylum effectively, of blatantly violating international human rights and refugee legislation, where you'd figure as a human rights lawyer, Keir Starmer would be all over this and playing to his strengths, he's instead fixated on the issue of cost. Many people have berated the Tories for making the issue all about stopping boats when these boats have people in them. Of secondary consideration is the impression that gives. But Starmer is no better when he complains about the expense of them as his line of opposition to it. PMQs yesterday, Starmer put to Sunak, last year 18,000 people were deemed ineligible to apply for asylum. How many of them have actually been returned? Now, of course, if they failed in their claim for asylum, then we should be able to return them to where they've come from. It's been deemed safe to do so, clearly. Starmer knew he had Sunak on the back foot here. I won't bother with Sunak's non-answer because, of course, anybody familiar with PMQs knows the Prime Minister never answers the questions they're asked. It is a pointless charade, frankly. It just gave Sunak a cue to blither about stopping the boats again, voting against deportation flights, voting against sending refugees to Rwanda. I mean, God forbid. When even Starmer votes to get that sort of thing down, you know it's got to be really bad. But the then response by Starmer to the non-answer he got came with some rather disturbing context anyway. Starmer's retort to Sunak flailing was all that nonsense because he doesn't want to answer the question, because he knows what the answer is. The number is 21. 21 people out of the 18,000, and what happens to the rest? They sit in hotels and digs for months on end at the taxpayers' expense. Now, perhaps some of you will have no issue with Starmer's words there. I do, though, because they're just as dehumanizing as the words the Tories have been coming out with. The Tories are failing. Like that's news. They don't care about these people as if that's news either. But they shouldn't be used as a political football by the opposition to score points over the Tories on it. How about you tell us how you sort this issue out then, Keith? Because policy is always thin on the ground where you're concerned, isn't it? Language matters. We've seen the dehumanizing language used by the far right. We've seen hotels attacked by the far right, by patriotic alternative. We've seen anti-racists risking their own safety to defend the human rights of such people. And here we have a human rights barrister literally undermining that with his own choice of language. The attacks on migrants, on asylum seekers, on refugees is born out of racism. We all know that. Anybody who sympathises with their plight knows it is born out of racism, and God only knows how much lecturing Starmer has done on the issue of racism to other people as if he's some grand authority on it. Whereas here he's just gone and proven he absolutely isn't. Find me one of those anti-racists on a protest who is standing there moaning about the cost of the people being holed up in their hotels as the reason they're there protesting. They've gone there concerned about these people's safety, to protect them, to show British values are empathy and compassion, and not whipping up hatred as both main political leaders are guilty of doing now. If these people are stuck in limbo after their asylum applications have failed, that is not their fault. It's the government's. It needs sorting out. Nobody wants to be seeing public money being used for something that shouldn't be necessary. Screw Starmer's use of taxpayers' money in his little diatribe, by the way. There's no such thing. That's the language of Margaret Thatcher. It's public money. And the issues of returns needs addressing because the lack of a returns policy, as I've spoken about in several recent videos, doesn't just apply to sharing the load of successful asylum seekers amongst a group of countries. It also affects those whose asylum applications have failed, hence the low number of returns and another factor in the backlog of asylum processing. Bleating about stopping the boats when you'll still fail to won't fix that. Whipping up hatred against people trapped in the system won't either. Both Sunak and Starmer want their heads banging together to stop politicising this issue. Tone their language down by several magnitudes. And remember, these are people they're talking about, not money, not boats, people. And do something about actually dealing with this issue that will mean something for them. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the vid, please do hit like and subscribe, leave a comment, and hit the notification bell too so you don't miss the next one. Also, look out for me on social media and other interesting stuff by clicking on the Linktree link in the comments below. And I will see you next time. Cheers, folks.